everyone. Welcome to another one of our Facebook Live Keeper Chats here at the Fort Worth Zoo. We're going to take just a second to let a couple more people join us. That way we can learn about this really awesome bird that we have out here today. All right, everyone. Now that we've had a few more people join, we are going to be talking about this awesome ambassador bird that we have. My name is Kylie. I am an interpretive specialist here at the Fort Worth Zoo, and I'm joined with one of our awesome bird keepers, Danielle, and this really unique species of raptor, and she is a crested caracara. She is 36 years old, and like I mentioned before, just a few seconds ago, she is an ambassador bird. You might be wondering, what does that jargon mean? And an ambassador animal is an animal that has been trained and desensitized to come out on encounters and do programs where we can get closer to people to be able to have these encounters and connections with our animals to help make a special memory for you. And that way you are able to get close to certain animals to help bridge a connection to protect animals out in their natural range. Now, if you didn't hear what type of bird she is a crested caracara, which is a type of raptor or a bird of prey. And like I said, she is 36 years old. She has actually been here at the Fort Worth Zoo for about 18 years. Now, raptors that come into zoos, especially native raptors like crested caracaras, if they come into a zoo, they are usually from the wild, and they were not able to be released back into the wild for one reason or another. For example, we do have a couple birds of prey here at the Fort Worth Zoo that are also other ambassadors and do programs like this, like our red-tailed hawk or our Swainson's hawk, who had sustained some sort of injury out in the wild. They tried to be rehabbed so that they could be a wild bird still, but it was deemed that they could not be releasable, which was the case for our crested caracara here. She has been here for 18 years, and she is fairly old for a crested caracara. She is 36. Typically their average life expectancy is somewhere in the 30s, maybe into the 40s in human care. So she is actually doing really well here at the zoo, and this is a really great opportunity for enrichment and being able to have you guys be able to see her when we can't be doing our programs that we do here at the zoo. Now, we do encounters with our ambassador raptors. We're going to take just a second to let a cart pass. We do encounters with all of our ambassador raptors here. If you are familiar with the zoo and have been to our Texas wild area, we do chats and encounters with them every single day, usually at 1:30. So whenever the zoo is able to open back up, make sure to mark that on your list. That way you can come see one of our ambassador raptors. It could be our crested caracara, it could be a kestrel, it could be a turkey vulture, maybe even our red-tailed hawk or our Swainson's hawk, like I mentioned. It's a great opportunity to get close to these birds of prey and be able to learn a little bit more about their species, because most of them are native to Texas, or even all over the United States if you're watching from somewhere other than Texas. Now, we've talked a little bit about how she is a bird of prey or a raptor, and that is just a universal term for hawks, eagles, owls, falcons, or vultures. Now, looking at her, I want you guys to maybe guess and type in the comments what type of bird of prey you think she is. Does she look like a falcon? She's kind of got a face sort of similar to an eagle. She's got long legs like a vulture would. And her coloration looks like a hawk. So she is probably tricking a lot of you into what type of bird of prey she actually is. Believe it or not, she is a falcon. She's part of the falcon family. And for those that have just joined us maybe recently, this is a crested caracara. They are in the falcon family, and a lot of people are familiar with falcons because of the peregrine falcon, which is the fastest bird in the world with diving speeds of up to around 200 miles an hour. And falcons are known for catching their prey while they are flying. They are used to being able to catch birds while they're flying. That's going to be their main food source. Now, our crested caracaras are very unique. They have special adaptations, they don't behave like falcons do, and they don't look like falcons. These guys are going to be opportunistic hunters. And if you've been watching a couple of our other Facebook Live chats, you've probably heard that term before. But for those that might be your first one watching, we are thankful for you guys tuning in. An opportunistic hunter is an animal that is going to hunt anything that they can catch. Crested caracaras have been observed hunting small mammals on the ground, maybe small reptiles on the ground. They've also been observed going into shallow streams and rivers and catching fish. And they've also been observed digging up turtle eggs. They do not shy away from any type of food source if they need it. And then another thing that they eat, which ties into these long legs like a vulture, is that they actually eat carrion. And the term carrion is just the word for deceased animal that are decomposing, maybe in ecosystems or maybe on the side of the road. Those animals are really important for our scavengers, like vultures and crested caracaras, to be able to eat, but in turn, they are providing a cleanup service for us. That way we don't have decomposing animals all over our habitats and all over our ecosystems. So the crested caracara does eat carrion, but if you look at her beak, you might notice it's not as long or as sharp as maybe a vulture beak is, that you might be familiar with. So what they do is they will find that carrion if they come across it, and then if a vulture is not already there, they'll wait for a vulture to come and tear open that meat for them. They are not able to tear open the carrion themselves, and they have just learned if there's a vulture there, they're gonna be able to eat, or if they wait a little bit, a vulture will show up and they are able to mutualistically eat from that carrion and get a good meal while also providing that cleanup service. Here at the zoo, since she would be eating a wide variety of things out in her natural range, she is going to get different types of rodents, so some mice and rats. She also is provided with quail, and she gets a wide variety of insects. So she gets superworms, maybe some crickets, and one of her favorite things, which is kind of strange for an animal that eats meat, is a coconut. The keepers have discovered that when they gave her a coconut as enrichment, and enrichment is just something that we provide for our animals to try to stimulate natural behaviors and keep them mentally and physically stimulated. So they provided her a coconut for enrichment one day, and she absolutely loved it. She ate the meat from it, and then when she was done cleaning out the meat from it, she actually carried the coconut shell around, which she doesn't do when her keepers are watching. So we've been trying to get a video for all of our viewers at home to be able to see, because it's really cute. But as soon as the keepers watch, she just is like, I'm not doing anything. I'm not carrying this coconut shell around. And that is just one of the ways that we do provide enrichment for her, while also making sure she is keeping that natural shredding behavior that she would be doing with her prey that she would catch out in the wild. Crested caracaras are going to be able to be found in Texas. They are a native Texas bird, but not as far north as Fort Worth. They usually are found somewhere around the Houston line and then south. So they're going to be found in South Texas. Then they will be found in Mexico, down into Central America, and then into the northern parts of South America. So if you are ever traveling to South Texas, definitely be looking for this type of bird. You can see them flying. They are going to have this nice yellow coloration on their face. They have pretty stripes on their chest and on their wings. That's how you're going to be able to identify them. And then we were talking a little bit when we were talking about their food. They do run on the ground after their food. So you might see them on the ground chasing after something. There's a nice breeze going on, so she's enjoying that. So you are able to find these guys in Texas, and they are listed on the IUCN Red List as least concern, which is very good for animals if they are listed at that. That just means that they are not endangered, but that doesn't mean we shouldn't be trying to keep them protected and keep them from going into that endangered zone. So what we would like to do for crested caracaras and all of our native wildlife is just to be good stewards of wildlife in our own backyards. So protecting our trees and providing maybe bird seed for local birds that you have in your backyard, or maybe even providing a bird house or an owl box for our local raptors is something that you're going to be able to do to help protect animals that are not endangered, but also making sure that they're not going into that endangered level. The reason this is really important with crested caracara specifically is because they have been known to go back to the same exact tree every single breeding season. So we want to make sure to make these animals have a good, healthy habitat to provide them for, so that they can come back year after year to keep those trees safe. And it's to make sure that they're not going to go into that endangered level of the IUCN Red List and keep them at least concerned. Crested caracaras have also been observed staying with the same partner for many, many years. So just like we got the question with our penguin chat, are they monogamous? We get that a lot with a lot of our animals here, but specifically birds. They are monogamous to an extent. They usually stay with the same partner for the entire breeding season. And then occasionally they will stay with that partner the entire time that they are able to breed. Sometimes they have been observed choosing a different partner for the next breeding season. It really just depends on the individual and how good their genetics are. But that's why it's important to keep our ecosystems very healthy, to make sure not only crested caracaras have a place to come back to, but all of our wildlife, whether it is frogs or toads or turtles or songbirds. It's just really important to make sure our wild spaces are preserved. One of my favorite facts I love to tell guests about our crested caracara is all about the coloration around her beak and in front of her eyes. You guys might be able to see that it is a nice orangish red color right now. And what's really fascinating about it is that it acts like a mood ring. So when our crested caracara is comfortable and not stressed and content, it's going to be the color that you see right now. Orange, a little bit of red. It's just going to be a nice, vibrant color. Now, if she were to be stressed out or uncomfortable, it would turn a pale yellow. And this is a really great way and reason that she makes a great ambassador bird, because if she did not want to come out and participate in this type of encounter, her keeper Danielle would know. She would know that, okay, our caracara's face is a little yellow today. Maybe she's not entirely feeling the encounter, which is fine, because our animals have a choice to participate in these encounters. And if they want to come out, they can, which is why she is able to come out today, because she is comfortable. Even with this wind. She's like, that feels good. Now, I hope you guys have been chiming in with some questions while we have been talking about it. Feel free to get some in. I am going to talk a little bit more about her specifically while you guys are typing some questions, because we're about to take them. You might notice that her feathers are kind of all over the place. Remember during our penguin Facebook Live, we were talking about molting, and penguins go through a catastrophic molt where they drop all of their feathers all at once. Our crested caracara is a type of bird that will actually molt year round, and then seasonally have a little bit more of a larger molt. So right now it's that season, it's that time of year where she is going to be molting a little bit more of her feathers. So this wind probably feels really good on those and is helping her get those feathers out so she can grow new ones in. All right, now that we have talked about her for quite a while, we're gonna let this cart pass. And now let's open it up to some questions. What do you guys got?
Can the birds see in color?
That's a great question. I don't know that one specifically. Danielle probably knows though.
They absolutely can see in color. Birds can also see beyond the visible spectrum, so even more so what our eyes can see, which is fascinating. Especially you can look at her coloration, like we talked about her face, which is a very colorful feature to her, and so mates can see that color, and so they can see, okay, are they in a good mood? Are they going to be wanting to be, potentially courting with me? So they can absolutely see in color. You'll also notice a lot of native birds, they have iridescence to their feathers, and so that helps beyond that visible spectrum, so they can see what we cannot, which is fascinating.
And do the male and females look the same?
Since these birds do have a partner and are monogamous, that is usually a good indicator that they do look the same. They are very similar in coloration, and that is how you're able to tell different types of birds that you're going to find at home. If the males are more vibrant, usually that means that they are not monogamous. But if they are similar colors, then that usually means that the birds are monogamous. They stay together, they help raise the chick. Great question.
How fast does it run on land?
I do not know that off the top of my head. Do you know, Danielle?
I don't know if it's ever been like truly clocked because they're not overly fast, they're not overly slow. For example, like her cousin, the peregrine falcon, but they can be pretty speedy. I've seen them run around on rooftops before. It's really fun to see.
And how long are their legs?
So you can see when you look at her that she has that long leg, but then there are feathers that go farther up. So here at the zoo and in the animal community, we call those feathers pants. So they look like a pair of pants, and that is because her legs actually go a lot farther up than what you are able to see, those orange colors. And it goes up almost to where you would think her chest is. I'm not entirely sure the exact distance, but a little less than a foot is what it looks like when we are looking at them. It's hard to measure them though specifically, because sometimes she's like, what is that near my leg? But a little less than a foot.
And talk about the different kinds of feathers. There are some that are brown and some that are striped. What does that mean?
Yeah, great question. So birds have different colored feathers due to sometimes trying to attract a mate, and then when birds that are able to fly, we're gonna let this cart pass really quick. Typically, the darker coloration is able to be more solid and help them fly, which is the extent of the knowledge I know on bird feathers. Danielle, she knows a lot about raptors. She might be able to tell you her specific colorations.
So her specific colorations, like as you can see, she's predominantly black and white, and that is just exclusive to her species. But bird pigmentation in feathers, black pigment is actually a stronger pigment than other pigmentations. So a lot of times you'll see all white birds with black feather tips, and that helps that feather last longer during the year prior to a molt. So you can see her wing right here, and then also the tips of her tail feathers, they have that black pigmentation. And so that helps that feather last during the year during her molt. So she does molt these wing feathers and these tail feathers once per year. So you want that feather to last much longer during the year than if it was a different coloration.
And how much does she weigh?
That's a great question. Before I answer it, I want to see if maybe our guests in the comments can guess how much she weighs. So if you're looking at her and you think about how she is a bird that would be able to fly, which means she does have those hollow spaces between her bones, how much do you think she weighs? And think about the fact that Danielle is holding her on a glove.
While we're waiting for those answers to come in, can you tell us, do they have good hearing?
Yes, so they have really good hearing. Most birds of prey do, that way that they are able to find their prey. That was a great question. Hopefully we got some responses in for me asking you guys how much you think she weighs, because you might be surprised by this, but she only weighs 3 pounds. Pretty remarkable.
We had everything from 2 to 30.
Great. That's a really great way for us to learn, is by you guys guessing at home. But yes, she only weighs about 3 pounds, and that's so that she can be a successful flyer, and Danielle is able to bring her out on an encounter like this.
What kind of other raptors live in Texas?
That is an excellent question. Here at the Fort Worth Zoo, we have a really cool section called Texas Wild, and then raptors in that section, and all of our raptors are going to be native to Texas. So our crested caracara is a species native to Texas. There are red-tailed hawks found in Texas. There are Swainson's hawks found in Texas, depending on the time of year, because they are a migratory bird. The American kestrel is able to be found in Texas, and then a couple different vulture species like turkey vultures and black vultures can also be found here, and bald eagles can also be found in Texas.
Are these birds smart?
Yes, so a lot of times there's this really big misconception about birds, since they do have these large eyes and maybe a smaller brain than other animals, that they are not intelligent. But they are very smart. They are intelligent. Like we talked about at the beginning, ambassador animals are ambassadors, or animals that are trained to be able to come out and do types of programs like this. So it did take a little bit of time for Danielle and our caracara to build this relationship and build an understanding that if she comes out and does this program and she is calm, content, she will be rewarded with her favorite food, which she really likes superworms. That's the type of treat that she is getting today. And we also do provide different types of enrichment that would stimulate their minds. We have puzzle feeders for our raptors and for our other birds, and they know how to work through them and problem solve, because they would be problem solving out in the wild as well.
Talk to me about training the bird. How do you train a bird?
That's a great question, but Danielle, since she is her trainer, I'm gonna let her take over on that one.
With this bird, since she has been here for a very long time, that she has been fairly challenging to train. A lot of it is very trust-based. So I had to work with her, just like getting her used to my presence near her and close to her before I ever asked her to step onto my glove. Because I don't want to just go in there and just throw my hand up there and hope for the best. So I worked for several months with her, just letting her be okay with where I'm at near her and near her presence inside her mew with her. And a mew is where she lives here at the zoo. And after that, after she was very calm, I went in there and I started asking her to step up into the glove, and we started rewarding her with food items or insects like superworms. And that's a reinforcement item, being like, hey, this is something that I really like to eat, and I step up on your glove and I get that item. And so it's just a reward and trust-based system. And then after that, I started adding equipment to her. You can see these kind of black and blue string. These are called jesses. And that she has to get used to me being near her feet. And that can be really weird for any animal, because like, what are you doing? Are you going to hurt me or harm me? And so she had to get used to me. So like I said, it's very trust-based. And she now trusts me. We've been working together for about a year and a half now. And she is a fantastic bird. She is very interested. She's very intelligent. But we never force our birds to do anything. If she says, I'm not feeling it today, then I'm not going to force her up onto my glove. And so that's trust also. It's like she is trusting me to respect her.
And what kind of nest do they build?
They do nest in trees. If you have joined us for the entirety of the chat, or if you are just joining us, the caracara will go to the same tree for each breeding season, typically, and they will gather whatever they can to build nests. It's usually sticks, that way it's able to be supported in the trees. But I think the most important part is they do return to the same tree for each breeding season with that same partner. And that's why we want to encourage protecting our local ecosystems in our backyards, because you never know what animal might be coming back each breeding season.
And how did this bird end up here at the zoo?
She is from the wild, and she came to the zoo about 18 years ago. Now, record keeping is top notch nowadays in zoos, but in previous years and when zoos were first getting started, the record keeping wasn't always the best. We're not entirely sure why she was brought into a zoo. Usually when raptors are brought into human care, it is due to the fact that they sustained an injury out in their natural range and were tried to be rehabilitated so they could return to the wild. But usually if they're in a zoo, they were not able to return to the wild, which is why we believe she is here. And we are thankful she's here because she is a great ambassador bird, and she's really fun for people to look at and learn about, especially since she is a bird native to Texas.
How many eggs will the bird lay?
Typically typically it's somewhere between 3 to 6. And something that's really cool about their eggs is that they're like a rust color. It's really pretty.
And when do the babies leave the nest?
Crested caracaras have been observed forming family groups, and sometimes they will stay with their family for an entire year, and then mated pairs will stay together for multiple years in a row, depending on if they like each other, if they think their genetics are great. So the babies will sometimes stay with their parents for up to a year.
And last question, can you tell us where we can find her once the zoo does open?
That is a fabulous question that myself and Danielle, I'm sure, would love to talk about. We do a Raptor Mew chat here at the zoo during chat season at 1:30, and actually even not during chat season. And we will bring out one of our native raptors so that you guys are able to get close. And that is going to be in our Texas Wild section, right past the jaguar. And each day is different. It just really depends on what day it is, which raptor is coming out, and if the raptor says they want to come out. But our crested caracara lives behind the scenes where you wouldn't be able to see her if you were coming to the zoo and it wasn't on an encounter, which is why we wanted to highlight her. She's a very special bird and she's beautiful. We love to have you guys be able to see the really awesome animals that live here at the zoo. And since that was the last question, I would love to get into our activity today. If you have been with us the entire chat, you heard me say that I had never seen a crested caracara until I moved here to Texas. I'm not from Texas. And I am mesmerized by her, even still to this day when I do chats with her and Danielle. She's beautiful. We love to talk about her, which led me to thinking, how many other birds in Texas do we have that I, as a zookeeper, don't know about? Which leads me to what I want you guys to do. I want you all to go out into your backyard and go bird watching. There is an app for smartphones that you can download. It's called the Merlin app. This is what it looks like on the App Store, and then this is what it looks like when you open it up. What it will ask you to do is you can do the Start Bird ID, and then it'll ask you where you are from in the world. You can pick here in Texas, or if you're a watcher that is viewing from a different part of the world, you can actually pick exactly where you are found. And then it'll ask you what color was the bird. You can put in 3 different colors, and then it'll ask you what was the bird doing. And then once you have figured all of that out, it'll give you a list of birds that fit your description, and then you're going to be able to discover a wide variety of birds that are found where you live, which is a really great opportunity to get immersed in nature, because we want visitors to be able to come to the zoo and enjoy our animals, but there are a lot of different species that you can find right in your own backyard. And this is a great way to do it, to be safely immersed in nature while also learning about different species, especially like an animal that you might not have known existed, like a crested caracara. Now, if you do find any new bird species you've never seen before, we encourage you to post them on our social media with #FortWorthZoo. I know myself and Danielle would really look forward to seeing what kind of birds you find in your backyard. And we are so thankful that you guys joined us today to meet our crested caracara, and we hope you guys are staying safe out there and have a wonderful rest of your day.